We're good. Okay. We were waiting for the recording to begin. All right. Beth, roll call, please.
Mr. Berman?
Here.
Mr. Manfredi?
Here.
Mrs. Miller?
Here.
Mrs. Stone?
Here.
Mr. Wadsworth?
Here.
I need a first and a second for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Brian,
I'll second.
Oh,
Go ahead, Jody.
I'll do it.
Jody. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Berman?
Yes.
Mr. Manfredi?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
And Mr. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Before we get into the revenue discussion, I just wanted to say that there are two families that have been affected in the district by some tragedy. And I just want you to reach out, if you can, to help them. It's the Lehman family whose house was destroyed this weekend, and the Hess family that has had their son, their 15-year-old son, was diagnosed with leukemia, pretty severe. So if there's anything that you could do to help those families, I'd like you to consider it. Okay. John, I'd like to, at this point, give you the floor for the revenue discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Manfredi. We are here to have the public hearing that involves a potential inside millage transfer. At previous meetings, we had some discussions about funding the future and evaluating school tax options. Since school taxes are the primary source of local revenue for the district, in our previous meetings, we talked about our options being potentially putting a 4.9 mil operating levy on the ballot, or an additional 0.5% earned income tax on the ballot, or a 2.5 mil permanent improvement levy on the ballot, or shifting 2.5 inside mills from the general fund to the permanent improvement fund. Quick discussion about times of collection and such kind of eliminated the earned income tax. I don't think that's a very popular one anyway. So what we were left to consider was the operating levy, the inside, the permanent improvement levy, or the millage transfer. So what I want to do is just take a second to go through the implications. And I just pulled a property from the district. So, a real property from the district. This isn't it. This is an AI picture. But I thought it could be up there while we talked. A real property from the district. And we're just going to talk about current reality of that homeowner starting back in 22-23 and how the decisions that will be made here will affect that particular homeowner. And then I'll give you some other data pertaining to some averages or some basically the cost per $100,000 of market value. So if we go back to 2022, this particular house, and by the way, these figures, Beth McCaffrey, our treasurer, calculated these, and these were double checked and verified by the county auditor's office. So these figures are accurate. So this house market value $277,900 in 22-23. So the assessed value of the house, which is the taxable value, which is 35% of the market value, is $97,270. The school tax rate in 22-23 was 24.218577 mils. So the full school tax bill on that property, again, it's school taxes, not other entity taxes. These will all pertain particularly just to the school, would have been $2,355.74 per year. That property was subject to credits for those school taxes of $254.47. meaning that their full year tax bill on the school's portion of property taxes was $2,101.28, or since it's paid in halves, a half bill of $1,050.64. In 23-24, property values were reassessed and property values went up. This particular property increased to $337,500, so almost a $60,000 increase in value, meaning the assessed value, or 35% of that, or the taxable value, went up to $118,130. The school tax rate was reduced to 23.315413 mils, so almost a full mil reduction. However, the school did see some increased tax revenue from that reevaluation. And then after the tax credits, the full year tax bill for that property was $2,448.36. So again, about a little, almost $350 of added income to the schools off of an almost $60,000 tax increase. So the half year tax bill for that particular property was $1,224.18. Now this year, 24-25, there was no reevaluation, so the property value stayed the same. So the assessed value stayed the same. The school tax rate decreased again almost a mil, about 0.8 mils, to 22.513259. So the tax bill, the full tax bill, was $2,659.49. There were credits of $259.52, meaning that the full year tax bill for this year for that property is $2,363.97, or a half of $1,181.99. So the school actually collected less tax from that property because there wasn't a reevaluation and there weren't any increases in value. So what I want to point out are the impacts that the decisions that you have in front of you could potentially make on homeowners, on property tax payers in our district. So if we move forward with, and it was passed in a levy with a vote, a new operating levy of 4.9 mils, the property value would be, the market value would be the same, the assessed value would be the same. The school tax rate would increase to 27.41325 mils. That's the 4.9 mils added to what the value was. So the full school tax bill would be $33,238.33. You would get the credits for that. So your full year tax bill coming to the schools would be $2,942.81, or $1,471.40 per half. If we went with the 2.5 mil permanent improvement levy, again, your market and assessed value are going to be the same. The school tax rate would be 25.013259 mils, meaning the full tax bill would be $2,954.82. After credits, the full tax bill would be $2,659.30, or $1,329.65 per half. If you did a 2.5 inside mill shift, market value and assessed value are still the same. It would increase to 25 mils. So it would increase the school tax bill to $2,953.25, but the properties would be eligible for $332.24 in credits, bringing the full year tax bill to $2,621.01, or $1,310.50 per half. So looking at the effects, a 4.9 mil operating levy on a $337,500 home would be an increase of $578.84 per year. A 2.5 mil permanent improvement levy increase would be $295.33 per year. And a 2.5 mil inside transfer would be $257.04 per year. If you break that down into simpler math and do it per $100,000 of market value, then the operating levy would be $171.50 per $100,000. The permanent improvement new levy would be $87.50 per 100,000, and the millage transfer would be $76.16 per $100,000 of market value. So the questions before the board here today are, do we attempt a 4.9 mil operating levy? Do we attempt a 2.5 mil permanent improvement levy? Or do we vote to shift 2.5 inside mills from the general fund to the permanent improvement fund? And with that, I'll turn it back over to the board for any questions, discussion, or anything else you would like to hear.
So, John, we, as a board, the five of us, if there's any questions you have for John or Beth at this time, this is the point where we want to ask.
Beth, can you talk just a little bit about how school funding or what the state pays has not changed since 2022?
So currently, we're being funded at 2022 levels. And so they're clearly shifting this burden back to the taxpayers, because we all know we're in 2025. Their funding is not keeping pace with inflation. So that becomes burdensome.
There was also a line item of we're missing $1 million basically because of the Orwell gas pipeline, correct?
Yeah,
We had projected that we were going to have that.
Right. So the board has heard, this windfall has been projected during the reappraisal, and we did get additional money. I wouldn't call it a windfall because we predicted to have money. We do 5-year forecasts, and the forecasts are realistic. So I know that there's going to be growth every 3 years. I know there's always going to be some new construction. We look at house sales. We know that there's going to be some growth, and sometimes there's declines. We had a slight decline this year in Board of Revision cases, and so we came off the floor. You've heard me talk about the 20 mil floor. So we're slightly off that 20 mil floor right now because some value was lowered. Okay, so it's like a pendulum. The windfall that was discussed has been offset by almost $1 million. It's about $960,000 in delinquent tax for the Orwell-Trumbull pipeline. And we have been talking about this constantly. These were taxes that were unpaid and still show as delinquent. The bigger issue is that all the value from that pipeline just went away because they filed for bankruptcy. So, just like we get additional revenue, possibly unexpected, that was a big unexpected thing to see that value come off of our abstract, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Did we ever get a reason why that tax wasn't collected?
So we have asked the school treasurers, and I hope other township officials, I hope county officials are asking this question too. We have asked what happened to those delinquencies and why are they not being collected? The county has given us the answer. We'll look into it. My understanding from digging into the Department of Taxation is that they filed for bankruptcy and they sold off the assets and not the liabilities. I'm not a bankruptcy attorney or a specialist in bankruptcy. It's always been my understanding that taxes are never forgiven in a bankruptcy. So once again, we have our budget hearing in the end of this month. And I intend to ask, what's going on with these delinquencies? Because It's not, it's $960,000 for our school. I believe it's over $4 million in Chardon. It's quite a bit of money for the county as a whole. The townships are losing out on money, the cities, the villages. So everybody should be concerned as to what happened, and we're having a hard time getting answers. So once again, we'll ask the question, and I hope other people reach out and find out what's going on, because we haven't gotten the answers.
So when we go in front of the Budget Commission on the 20th, today's the 10th, so 10 days,
Yep,
we're gonna go ask that question again.
once again, yep.
Okay. One other question to you. Did you get audited statements from the county?
No, I typically wouldn't receive those, no.
This year, last year, which years? Haven't you done?
The last I looked, the county filed
22.
financial statements for 2022.
So we haven't got it for 23 or 24.
No. 24 wouldn't be due yet.
When would it be due?
6 months after the year end.
So really, we're just in the rears with 23.
Correct.
Okay.
Linda, I don't want to put you on the spot, so I can do it if you'd like, but can you talk about vouchers and what is going on at the state? Because I know you're first.
Yes, yeah. Vouchers in the state of Ohio
Can you
are
make sure your mic's on, just so they can hear you?
vouchers.
Nope.
I can talk loud as a teacher.
Yeah, got it. You got it.
Vouchers are, we hear about vouchers all the time. I mean, we should be hearing about it, because what is being taken out of the budget was this year $1 billion. So I just can't stress it enough. We need to start telling our legislators that they've got to stop doing that, because in our community, we have 67 kids that are using the vouchers from our school district. We only have 5 new ones since the vouchers were represented this year. All the other 62 of them have been going to private schools or charter schools all of this time. So people who were going to go there anyways, who haven't gone to Berkshire schools probably at all, are taking money from the funds that represent our kids. And I think Beth and I were talking today that only 10% of the population are getting that amount of money. The rest of the schools, which is 90% of the kids, aren't getting out that $1 billion pool that's out there. And that impacts us greatly. So when we're looking at the funding that we as public schools are getting, it's decreasing greatly. And so they keep going more and more to the local communities. I just was reading a statistics that this year they're expected to have 39% of public education come out of the state, 61% they're causing the local populations to cover, and that's us. I don't know if there's anything else. And the other thing about, sorry about that, once I get going on this, is the other thing is that we as public schools, all public schools, we have so many things that we have to report for, that we have, that are mandated, that we are audited for financially and educationally. And the schools that are getting these vouchers have much less restrictions or obligations financially or data collection for students. So nobody really knows what's happening. And if they're comparing them to our public schools, nobody knows, because they're not equally comparing our kids to what our kids are doing and what they're doing.
We're gonna let you, do you mind if we go through whatever we're gonna do with our discussion? And we're gonna open it up to the floor so everybody can come up, state their name, either questions or comments. I'm sorry, I should have said that at the beginning, my fault.
We're good.
Anyone else? Anyone else? I'm pretty loud though, too. And I wasn't a school teacher, so. Anything else that you want to bring up? Okay. At this time, then what we'll do is, I have to announce in order. The next board meeting is actually tonight at 7 PM, which will follow this meeting. But the following meeting would be March 10th at 6 PM here in the auditorium. Okay, at this time, we could take public participation. We ask that you come up to the microphone because this is being taped so that everybody could hear, or the people that aren't here can hear what you have to say or ask. State your name and township that you're from. That's all we need to put on for the taping. So it doesn't matter what order anybody comes up, but this is the time.
I was going to ask you a question, Linda. Can you hear me all right?
Your name?
Yeah,
Okay. The voucher system that you're speaking of, is that for charter schools or parochial schools?
All of them.
So you're telling me that St. Helens doesn't have any accountability?
No, I didn't say that. Their accountability isn't the same as what we have to do. They have accountability. I'm sure all schools do. But what they have to do is not like what the state mandates a public school to do.
Okay, thank you. We as a town, oops, is there a penalty? We as a township have faced the same dilemma that you were talking about, Beth, with Orwell Gas. So we have come up on a short end, not just this last year, but over the years.
Yeah.
This is nothing new. But we would sure like to get that backed up, but I have a feeling that's going to be,
So that delinquency has been out there. The disturbing thing is the value is gone now. And there's no value sitting out in those parcels.
oh, I'm sorry, I didn't, I'm representing Burton Township, so. The school, when we talked about, John, when we talked about the inside millage, we as a township gave back in the last two tax periods, 66% and 33%. This next year, we won't be giving it back anything because we've got obligations for our roads that we have to address. So I don't know. I know that the school hasn't. Most of the schools in the county, in all fairness, with the exception of West Jaga, have not given back either.
Yeah, the difficulty with that is we can't make the decision, like, yes, you can put off road repair for a few years and then and catch it later, but if we have a special needs child that needs services, we can't put that off for a year. We have to deliver those services. So we really don't have the same options that you have at the township to put things like that off.
Because the township's facing issues that if there gets to be too many taxes, we have to, Burton Township pays for the fire department to be the first responders to Berkshire schools. And we have been, we're at the point where we have to put another levy on. And with great regret, we have to do it because inflation's going on. We're paying 5% more this year, 4% more next year, and 4% more the following year. So we have to generate these funds. So I hope you, when you guys are thinking about these things, you also think about the surrounding townships that we are going to be facing these things as well. That's all I have right now.
Thank you.
Hello. Jonathan Tiber, Clarendon Township. Just a quick question. For this 2.5 mil inside millage shift, does that hinge on the approval or disapproval of the County Budget Commission? Can they disapprove this, not approve it? Like if they feel like you don't prove need,
We have
could they
to,
disapprove it?
yeah, we have to demonstrate need or they would not
Right.
approve it.
Okay, so if they don't approve it, it's this option's off the table, correct? At least this year.
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Good evening, Carolyn Snyder from Burton Township. And when we are doing our home budgets and we find that we're going to be in a deficit, we make cuts and we compromise on how we expend. And I want to know, you're coming to us always for money, 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 but what are you doing to cut back on the expenses in the school? And I know it's very heavy, top-heavy administration. And have you made any plans to reconsider and restructure that part of the board or the school?
Yeah, I guess I would question when you say it's top-heavy administration, it's relatively average based on per pupil to administrator ratio in Ohio. However, we have cut back. We've not raised school fees in 15 years. We refinanced 3 times our debt payment for the building. So it went from 3.65 to 3.49 to 2.6 to 2.5 mils, which means that's less money that came out of your pockets to do that. We've cut back on budgets. We've cut back on field trips. We've tried to cut everywhere we can that has the least impact on the classroom. But we have made cuts, and Mrs. McCaffrey and I meet every day to talk about what other things we can do to attack the budget. But I mean, if you saw the bullet pointed sheet we provided at the door, there are some things that we have no control over. For example, we're about 14% of our student population are students on IEPs, and the top 60 cost the district last year about $2.7 million, of which from state and federal government we get about a $500,000 credit, but that's still $2.2 million that goes to 60 students that we really don't have any control over. And included in that are things like court place students. And, if a child is sick and is hospitalized, Cleveland Clinic works with Cleveland Metro Schools. So if one of our children has an extended stay at Cleveland Clinic downtown, then we have to pay daily to Cleveland Metro Schools to provide that kid worksheets and things, even if we don't want to provide those things. So there are certain things that we have little control over, and we try to do the best we can to cut expenditures and to not spend as much. But every position we have kind of ties into the model that is showing promise for our district in terms of workforce development, in terms of offering our kids real opportunities when they leave here. And that's kind of, that's why we do some of the things we do.
How many administrators do you have in the district?
We have a principal and an assistant principal at the high school, and a principal and an assistant principal at the middle school. We have a principal at the elementary school. We have a special ed director, a curriculum director, myself, and a grant writer.
So I guess I'm questioning, and I don't necessarily know the tier of having administrators, but you're all under one roof now. Why can't there be just one principal?
Well, I mean, that would put a lot of pressure on classroom teachers because then there would be one person to deal with any misbehaving student out of the 1,400 kids we have in this building. I mean, you're putting a lot of pressure on every administrator we move puts extra pressure on classroom teachers because then they have to pick up the things that that person was doing prior, and that gives them less time and opportunity to work with kids in the classroom. We have about 500 students at the elementary, and we have almost 500 at the middle, and you know, kids in middle school are a little more squirrely than they are in elementary, and kids in high school get sometimes, you know, the issues they get into are a little bit bigger. So, but you got about 450 high schoolers and about 450 middle schoolers, and to try to do all that with one principal would just put a lot of extra strain on the classroom.
Well, I can tell you, I am retired, and the proposal that you're making now for the 2,400 or something a year, that's 2 months of my Social Security, and I really cannot support that financially. So I would hope that you would consider ways to continue to trim down your expenses instead of always coming after us for more money. Thank you.
I'm Oliver Tiber, Burton resident. Question, is the plan to vote on one of those tonight, one of those three options?
Yes. It's what's on our agenda. It hasn't got to vote yet, but it's on our agenda, yes.
Okay. But it hasn't been decided which of the three options?
Actually,
No, I think one of you needs to make a motion for which one of the three options, and then vote on the one you make a motion on.
So would I be incorrect in assuming it's going to be the 2.5 inside millage transfer?
I think we want to hear
Resolution of the
everybody
tax
out
levy.
tonight and then number one, decide if we're even ready to vote tonight. There's a lot of feedback we're going to be getting that we may need some time to digest.
Okay.
So that's-
So then I guess I would just say, you know, assuming that is the approach, which is what I took out of the previous meeting on the 22nd. So in my opinion, you know, we could spend hours discussing and debating state funding for public schools, questioning whether Berkshire needs additional financial support or not. But in my opinion, that's really not what this is about. In my opinion, this is about whether the board is going to choose to do the 2.5 inside millage transfer, which would essentially bypass what the voters have voiced the last two elections. So in my opinion, the community has placed their trust in you. They've made their opinions pretty clear. And bypassing them, in my opinion, it may be legal, but I don't think it's very ethical. So any increase in tax, in my opinion, should go back to the voters. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Marilyn Persick, and I'm in Burton Township. First, I just want to say that ever since we moved here 4 kids ago, we have supported the schools regardless of whether our kids attended the public schools or not. And, you know, they've been through ISTEM and Auburn and Berkshire and St. Helens. And to my knowledge, we didn't receive any vouchers. So I don't want anybody, and I don't know if ISTEM is part of vouchers or Auburn, but I wouldn't want other people to have labels on their heads because their kids did different things. But regardless of whether my kids went here or not, we still supported the kids here, and I still do, and I believe my husband does as well. But I have a question, so kind of on the back of what the person before me just said. Did you guys explore why maybe the levy didn't pass this last time and the time before? And then when was the last time a much-needed levy wasn't passed? Did we think about that? These are just some things that came to my mind. And when you talk about moving millage, if you don't move it now, like, is there a time limit when you have to move it to get your funds? Or, okay, we'll suffer through a year and maybe we'll talk about this next year. And the reason I'm going here is that some of you were with me at our state conference in November. And when I was visiting with other school board members there, it seemed like there was a theme that you need to work with your community and go back to your community. And I was privileged to be in a session with Toledo Public Schools, and they were in a really bad way, and they're huge. They were, I don't have the details. I couldn't get a hold of anybody in time, but they came out of the dumps and they're doing awesome things. And by chance, if you weren't there, Mr. Stoddard, they're aligned with your vision. They're doing the same great things that you want to do and have done for our kids. Like they have an airplane program at the airport. They have the hospital stuff for the kids. They're in that same alignment. But what they said and what a couple other schools said at different sessions was that they needed the community. And what I recall, because I'm not on the in with everything because I'm not at the public schools, was when you guys wanted to build a new school and my kids were not here. We supported that. And we still said yes to all of that, but you guys were on the ground and you were telling everybody. And I'm so excited that all these people are here. And I've only come to a few school board meetings because I give you my money and I want to make sure that when I'm concerned about something, I let you know. So I haven't been concerned too much, but people need to know this stuff. And so I'm glad you guys are all here. So please tell your neighbors and friends, because I really think that just moving the millage to cause a tax, whatever divide there is that created people to not vote for this levy, do not think it's going to get bigger. And this is going to be worse. So let's go back to what you guys did before when you wanted the new school to be built, and do that again, then come back and put that on the levy for a vote. I believe that we're here and we want to support you. Maybe somebody that doesn't know everything that was shared here today, maybe they don't watch Facebook. Sometimes it's difficult for me to find the minutes. I had a hard time finding the minutes until I was like, oh, it's on YouTube. So I think there's a lot of disconnects with communicating with the community. You really, really, really need to go back and do that. I think we want to help. Different people have different talents and different people will support us in different ways. So I'm not against this. This is one of the cheaper ways, but I really don't think that we should, just say, we're just going to take your money anyways. I just think it's a bad idea. It just really is. Thank you.
Jim Boyd, Thompson Township. Man, I'm so glad I'm not on that stage anymore. I'm going to tell you, you take that 2.5 inside millage, might as well make it 10. You'll never pass the levy again. It's taxation without representation. The people in this audience are here. They're here to support the building. They're here to support the school. You do that, you're cutting yourself off the knees. We did a lot of work to build this building. You guys did a tremendous job with public outreach to engage the citizens, to tell them what you need, why we need this, and where we want to go in the future with our students. But you do this, I'll almost guarantee you'll never pass one in the near future. It's going to be, you might as well think about where you want to merge with. That's a lot to ask of people to go and move without their vote, without their consent. You didn't do much outreach to pass the PIs. Those popped up on the ballot. I think I saw a mailer maybe. We need to get back to engaging the community, let them know what we need to do, what we need to do to maintain a new building. Everybody that I talked to was like, why would we have a PI levy on there? We just built this new school. You need to educate them that walls need painted, floors need waxed, all that. Engage your public and sell them on why you need the money and how to spend it right. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. First thing I want to say is children are our number one resource, right? But my first question is...
Sir, could you state your name for me?
David Genske, Burton Village.
Perfect, thank you.
So anyway, you bring up the pipeline. Were any financial decisions possibly made according to the pipeline going through?
Yes, I mean, that was
the school
included
built
with,
before the pipeline.
I'm sorry?
Was the school built before the pipeline started going through?
It would have been built during that period.
So you counted on some money there,
Yes.
right? Okay. So here's my thing. I grew up here, I went to the old Berkshire High School, graduated in '84, and I was 100% all for this new school. I was gone for a while, I moved back, and I was totally into it, right? But as I saw it being built, the first thing that came to my mind was Perry, okay? So Perry based all their Taj Mahal of a school off the nuclear plant, which is about ready to go under. So now they're all freaking out, okay? So we build this school, and as we all see, it does not resemble whatsoever schools built 50, 60 years ago, because they didn't know any better then. We know more now. However, what's the cost to build this school, to maintain, to pay the bills, compared to those dumb people of prior times, okay? Which we know now, they weren't so dumb. So I'm constantly hearing, because I don't have kids anymore here, I'm constantly hearing about the maintenance and the problems that we're having here, like elevators that don't work, heated sidewalks that don't work. Do you guys go back on the people that built those before you ask us for tax dollars? I'm asking.
Yeah, we haven't had to spend any money on elevators.
Does the heated sidewalk work the way it should?
Heated
Or does the
sidewalk-
principal shovel the sidewalk every day?
Not every sidewalk is heated.
But the ones that are,
The ones that are heated work. We
100%.
Yes, we shovel areas where it's not heated, and we salt areas where it's not heated.
Okay, so is there maintenance issues with this school that have existed since the day it was built, finalized?
There aren't any outside the norm maintenance issues with this school. And yes, the elevator did go down for a period of time, but the elevator company fixed that and didn't charge us for it.
Because I'm hearing all kinds of things about how all these maintenance things are broke, not working, and they were put in this way. And I don't want my tax dollars to go to fixing something that should have been right from the start.
Every component in this building still under warranty. No tax dollars have gone to pay for anything that's been broken from the beginning of anything. In fact, there's really nothing that's not that we
Other
were
than general maintenance.
we were having some issues with grounded outlets, but we figured out the issue with that, so those have been corrected. But I mean, I'd be happy to walk the building with you.
I believe you. I'm not.
Well,
I'm not
I'll
saying-
give you an example we haven't had a good winter in quite a while.
The normal winter.
Yeah. And so this is our first real winter. And I noticed we were having a lot of icicles. We shouldn't be having icicles on a brand new building. So I've called the state. They've already come in and done an infrared, and that's all on the contractor. So we are holding them to the fire on anything we see. I don't know who is telling you about elevators. John and I would be the first to know. And we had, I think, a couple days, there was an issue with the elevator because it was grounding out. And it was fixed
Don't get me
on
wrong,
the
I
elevator company.
understand there's
But we are
normal
holding
maintenance.
people to the fire.
Yeah.
And
My point is, as someone that's not directly involved with the school, because my children didn't go here,
Yep.
I hear these things as kind of an outsider looking in, and I'm not saying that they're etched in stone. That's why I'm here questioning you. And the point is, if there are issues like that, you would know more than me. That's what I want fixed and held the people that did it wrong, their feet to the fire. Because I agree with the previous gentleman. This type of thing going on here is kind of shady. I don't like it. And I feel that you need to take responsibility and look in the mirror, so to speak, before you start looking outside the mirror and asking us for more money. Because when does it end? I realize it doesn't end to a certain degree. We got to support our schools, but it just goes up, 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 up. And our incomes don't go up, up, up at that rate. So that's all I got to say.
Scott Reeves, Troy Township. There's a lot of people that are upset right now, and they're trying to figure out where we're going and what we're doing as a community. And many of us have supported this building from the get-go, as we've heard other people say that they didn't have children here, but they did it anyway. And of course we would, because those are not just somebody else's children, they're our children. This is our neighborhood, and this is our community. And the idea of millage is we can't pillage the millage. This can't be done, and we shouldn't be doing it. There's a point, what, 10 point? Is that what's available to us? 10 mills is out there?
For the
10
inside
total
millage is
inside mills.
4.5.
4.5.
10 total schools have 4.5 of it.
Someone else said something about the different programs that are being taken. Were those accounted for beforehand, that the new programs, like there's a nursing program, and we only have 5 or 6 people here at this facility, but there's also people at Middlefield. Can those be combined? Is there a way that we can work with the other schools in order to make an expense that, is it $5,000 a month to take care of this nursing program, no matter if there's one person or if there's 10 people? But if we need X amount of numbers, can't we work together with some of the other schools? Does that happen?
Yeah, we don't, the nursing program is in conjunction with Kent State. So our students through College Credit Plus participate in that. That's open to every district in the county.
And then we've got, what's it out in Concord?
Auburn Career Center?
Auburn Career Center. And, we have a lot of kids that will go there as well.
We do.
Right. This is good. Did we as voters elect you to take our votes away by reversing the decision? No, we did not. Did we as voters elect you to manage both educationally and financially our school? Yes, we did. Did we as voters elect to authorize the creation of new programs before they were adequately funded by the voters? No, we did not. I would say the no's have the majority. So we will be asking you to vote no on this mill levy and let it be voted upon by the citizens. Transferring the inside millage and increasing our taxes without our vote, not good. Someone who wrote this as well as my notice, once we looked at the percentages of our tax increases, some 52% in the last 10 years, which is interestingly enough about the same amount that you're looking for. It's not just about the money, it's about our right to vote. And we should be allowed to vote on this. This should not be something that's passed tonight. Last meeting we had was when we were, forget what it was now, but I felt like when we came in here that the vote was already decided. It was your minds were already made up. And you, Mr. Stoddard, had a big influence on a lot of people. Taxation with representation. It's the second time we've said this tonight, and this just can't be. You need to think about this, and you need to put it on the table. You spoke about, Jody, about thinking about it and working on it. Don't do this tonight. Maybe not do it anytime. Look deep into the pockets that we have ourselves, and how can we help fund that in a different way, different things that this building has gotten. We built this beautiful building just 3 years ago. We finished it. Is that what it is right now? We've been in, and it's really tough to think about having to increase our taxes this much. It'll probably cost me $1,000 a year. Again, it's not about the money. It's about our students and about holding all of you accountable to what other opportunities, what other ways can we work to make these monies that we have here to work. It's there. I hope you can only come up with some better ideas rather than just vote on something that we don't have a choice on. Thank you.
Vicki List, Clarendon Township. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak and thank you for not limiting us to 2 minutes. Very much appreciate that. I would like to ask you to not take the power of voting away from the community that you serve. This issue is a great issue. You are proposing to vote as a board to gain millage to finance the school. You should not do that. We as a community have voted this down twice. Are you really going to force this on us? Why would you do that? It takes care of the immediate future only, not thinking about the long term. You will never get anything more than a renewal tax ever again. I guarantee that. I would like to have a show of hands from the audience, because some people might not feel comfortable getting up here or even emailing you. How many of you would like for them to vote tonight to take your right away? You want that? You want them to take your rights away? How many of you do not want them to vote tonight? Raise your hands. Thank you. I would like to also add that you, along with the schools in the township and many places in Ohio, got that windfall money that you talked about. And it increased our taxes on average by 30% already. The township and one school, most of the townships and one school in Geauga County took some of that increase, but not all. You are not one of those schools. You voted to build a preschool. You were counting on the levy to pass for some of that funding, as well as having other schools bring their kids here for this preschool. And now I understand that the state has changed the requirements for the kids being able to be provided for here. So now we're left holding the bag. That's not a problem that the taxpayers created. That's a problem that you as a board voted on and created. Please do not take the power of voting away from the community that you serve.
Chad Russell, Troy Township. I guess I'm going to be the elephant in the room, and I'm going to go opposite of everybody. First off, I appreciate everything that you guys do for us. I know most of you personally. I know that you're doing everything the best for the kids. Now, going back to the voters, I don't know which way is right, and I'm glad I don't have to make this decision. But going back to the voters a third time, and then falling back, Beth, we fall back in 5 years, or we have money for 5 years now? Is that what it is?
So we go into the negative currently on the forecast in the fourth year. We have about $140,000 at the end of the third year in the November forecast.
Gotcha. So there is still a chance with trying another levy to do that. Now with this permanent improvement levy, that's from 1989, correct?
Correct.
And this was a reassessment?
It was a renewal.
It was a renewal, so it wouldn't have increased anything from what we were paying before?
Correct.
Correct. We could also do it as a reevaluation, couldn't they? To where they go off of, it gets split between everybody instead of decreased. So if it was originally bringing in $2 million and then $2 million is split between 500 families, now there's 1,000 families, is that we still only get the 2 million? It doesn't.
So the millage, the 2.5 mils was reduced down based on House Bill 920 to collect only what it originally passed at.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there, okay, all right. So moving this over would set us for how long? How long, if it was moved over, how long will we be set, and where would another levy have to come in?
We think that this will take us out 10 years, that we can redirect certain expenditures into the PI levy to alleviate the general fund.
And then to dispel, I know there was some with the elevator and with the sidewalks.
Mhm.
There's a lot of keyboard cowboys out there that,
Yep.
that want to put this stuff out there that it's not true. So with our taxes, there's been a graph that keeps going around that shows that we pay 51% of our taxes go to the schools. Where do we fall? And I know the answer, but where do we fall within all the school districts in the county?
So from a millage impact, let me pull up my handy spreadsheet here. Sorry.
Well, what?
So we're the third, there's 5 schools right now. We rank number 3 as far as millage rate, okay? And that's converting the income tax back to a millage. So if you take what you pay in the income tax divided by the millage rate, we're paying 29.8 mils, okay? So that ranks 3rd.
Beth, is there any way that you could share that with John, that he could put it on the screen?
Yeah, John.
How are you sharing it with me?
Just like I said, there's been one graph that they're putting up there.
Yep.
Oh, we pay this much to our schools, and this is
Yep.
ridiculous. Well, just pulling, like you did before, pulling a random resident from each one.
Yep.
Chardon pays 56% to of their taxes goes
Yeah.
to the schools. West G is at 47%.
47.
Cardinal is at 49%.
Mhm.
And Kenston is at 57%. Berkshire's at 50.27%.
Mhm.
So we're right in the middle, and we have a brand new school.
Yep.
So everybody that's upset about how much we pay to the schools, we're right in the middle of the county, and we have a brand new, beautiful school.
Mhm.
So that's not something we should really be upset about. I think that's a great situation that we're in. We're in the middle, and we're doing great.
Right. I mean, you're going to, in rural school districts, or even metropolitan school districts, you're going to see that the most amount of your tax dollars goes for schooling.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. John Bonner, Burton Township. I think it's pretty obvious that the concept of, that we're in a representative democracy. You 5 were voted by us. You've came to the community twice. It didn't pass. That should be a wake-up call, because the same people that voted you on the board voted it down. So something's not there. I don't think you have a lack of support in this community. It's never been like that. That is not the problem. It's the communication. It's knowing what do we really want to get done? What if we work to cut? Where can we meet in the middle? Where have we pulled a little bit here, but we still need the money? Am I wrong? None of this problem, we're not having this conversation if that levy passed. Is that accurate? I mean, the 2.5 mil is what we're trying to replace, right?
PI levy.
So I would say, listen, I was side by side with every one of you when we got the bond issue passed. And whoever that lady was that said it before is exactly right. That's why it got passed. I mean, I remember sitting with Mr. Timmons and getting all the farmers together to try to convince them to do it. None of them wanted to do it, but they did. Because and some of them didn't have any kids in the school. They understood it was something that was going to help their property values, and they did it, overwhelmingly did it. But even this last one, there was no communication. My kids don't go here anymore, but I pay a lot of property taxes. And listen, I'll tell you what, I voted for the last levy. Didn't really know anything about it, but if I can, I should, right? You can do this tonight, but you should not do this tonight. It's your personal legacies on this board. You've already done a great job getting the school done. You do not want to market with that because Boyd's right. Nobody's going to get support of the school if we feel like we put people on the school board and then whatever you want to do, you're going to do. That's not America. That's why they're burning the federal government down right now, for Christ's sakes, right? So I'm saying this on behalf of people that have fixed incomes. You know, you guys, the timing sucked for you guys. You know, you had to go through the bond issue, right? That cost people money. Then you had this reevaluation of everybody's property. So everybody's property taxes went up 20%. And we're all thinking, we got this beautiful new school. Why do they need more money? I get it. I own facilities, new or not, they need maintaining, okay? But you got to communicate that to us. You can't, if you're a business owner, you can't go to the bank and the bank says no, says I don't like this, this, and this. Go back, work on it, come back to me. You don't get to say, hey, bank, doesn't matter. I'm taking the money anyway. It doesn't work like that. And it doesn't work like that for us. So I think everybody just wants you guys to respect that. And I think if you go back to the mentality when you pass the bond issue, I think you'll get it passed. So.
Nathan Rickett, Montville Township. I really want to echo that. Kind of been thinking through this for a while now, since I saw the Facebook post from the Maple Leaf. I don't vote down school levies. I didn't vote down the last one. I don't vote down police levies. I don't vote down fire levies. I believe that these are things we need. However, we also do need accountability. And I think voters would be comforted. I think we are in a very bad time right now for government entities specifically. The corruption is being exposed daily. And whether or not there's corruption in the school, people are going to be hesitant because of that. But we do really like our school systems. Mr. Stoddard, you've done an amazing job, especially, you know, when we were building the school, you were doing meetings at Stockers and Thompson. And I get time is limited. That's taking time from your family to do that stuff also. So that's a level of complexity on us to not rob you of your family time, but also to have that balance. You know, maybe it's a short-lived imbalance that hopefully you can reclaim. But I do think that people understanding, but also maybe if we saw, I think this is the part that's been hard for me to articulate, to communicate. It's not that we think that you're necessarily blatantly abusing finances. I don't think that that's the idea, but I also think it might help, like, if there was maybe some more transparency. I know, hey, just come to the board meetings. That would help. But especially with what's going on in Washington, maybe if there was like, hey, we looked into, I don't know, is maintenance done by school staff, or is it kind of like subbed out? Is like cleaning and actual maintenance, is that subbed out, or is that all internal?
We have an internal maintenance staff. Cleaning is subbed out.
Cleaning subbed out. Okay. And I think through, you know, busing is subbed out, so that should have been a savings. I don't know how that's worked out for you guys, but that was also included in the anticipation of the build. And I think if these things, finances are articulated a little bit, people, I know I'll still vote the next levy. If you do choose that route, I think that the community is going to be more likely to, if they understand. And I would be happy to help in the campaign, but I think that's the route that is the right route before the people is to make that campaign and really fight to win the people. And I do agree. It would be like a kick in the teeth to take the money without the people's approval. So
What's your name again?
Nathan Rickett Thompson, or Montville, sorry. Mailing versus, thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to address one thing. You go ahead, and Brad, I'll be quick before you get up there. I actually enjoyed doing all the talks about the bond issue and the levy, but legislative action has been passed that restricts the amount that I'm allowed to do that, because according to the lawmakers, I can never turn off when I'm the superintendent, and therefore I'm using public tax dollars to sway a levy. And that's the reason I couldn't be the public face of the last 2 times this bond issue. And it's not, we don't want to use that as an excuse. I don't want to put that out there, but when you can't have a public face and someone to get out there, it makes it difficult. And that's one of the things we struggle with, because I would have loved to have 50 meetings the way we did before. I like sitting down and talking to people. I think I do it well, but legislatively, once a superintendent in Columbus was charged with a misdemeanor for talking about the school levy, many superintendents decided it's not worth talking about the school levies anymore. It makes it hard for us. But all your points are well taken, and I don't disagree with them. But there are some things that kind of are starting to legislatively tie our hands.
So who can, 1 and 2, was that a sunshine issue?
It's using public tax dollars to promote a levy issue. That's kind of the crux of the issue. I think it's overreaching and going too far, because essentially what our attorneys told me is, if I don't wear a suit and I go in a tracksuit or something I wouldn't normally wear at a certain odd hour that I might not be working, then maybe it would be okay, which is crazy.
So who can? Can like the board?
Any of these 5 at a time when they're not at a regular board meeting, I guess, would be our options.
Thank you.
So, hello, everybody. Brad Wadsworth from Clarendon. Actually, I'm up here tonight representing Don Hornack. He had some points that he'd like me to make on his behalf here. So I'm going to read it from the paper. It said, our president believes strongly in school choice. So do I. But Ohio's public school finance was declared unconstitutional decades ago, but has done nothing. The state of Ohio needs to act. In the meantime, Berkshire schools can't wait and needs to deal with reality, which is voters have rejected the capital improvements twice, and there is no reason to expect it to pass again. And since we can't wait for the state of Ohio to correct the grossly unfair situation for public schools, it is your obligation as a board to take the necessary action to ensure the financial future of the Berkshire school system. Perhaps when we get a new governor who is expected to have a high commitment to educational excellence, Berkshire will be a level field to compete fairly with other educational options. Given a level playing field, Berkshire is in an excellent position to be the first choice. Thank you.
Ray Hutchinson from Burton. I guess on the other guy's point there, didn't you guys hire a community engagement person that can do this?
Did we hire a community engagement person?
Yeah, that can help with getting the word out about the levies and stuff like that.
The issue is any school employee falls under that category.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm going to go back to a conversation that you and I had back when the school levy was, when you guys were trying to get it. I don't know if you remember that conversation, but I've been around with several school levies, and you promised me this wasn't going to happen to this school. You said, no, we're going to save so much money. We're going to save money on the lighting. We have LED lights. We have all this heating. We're going to save all this money. And we will not do what other schools have done, year 1, year 2, year 3, and ask for a levy. We'll never have that happen. But here we are. Again, same thing I was afraid that was going to happen back then. Every school does it. And obviously, I don't know if I got sold a bill of goods, but we're here again trying to get more money after we have this facility when it all should have been taken care of up front. And the same thing goes back to what the other people are saying. I guess, in your words again, sorry, I don't have my glasses on, while we are disappointed on the levy not being passed, but we respect what the community's decision is. Well, you, by respecting that, is not by doing what you guys are planning on doing per se, or voting on taking this millage out and upping our taxes. Come on, guys. I mean, it's very frustrating because it feels like I'm being lied to. I think I was lied to before the school was being started. Now we're going to do this and kind of do it. Hey, take it to the people again. And I think the people are right. You do it. I think everybody's on a chopping block because everybody's kind of tired of it.
Ray, you just said I lied to you. Where did I put a new levy on the ballot since the school's been built? The levy that went down wouldn't have raised your taxes. We would have been fine. John Bonner just said it. Had this not gone down, we would have been perfectly fine. The building is operating more efficiently than the other buildings were. Are we paying a little bit more for energy? Yeah, everyone is. But the building is efficiently running, and had the levies that had supported the schools prior been intact, which did not raise tax dollars, we wouldn't be in this situation.
Well, again, if you actually pull your tax form up, again, before that levy was out, between us upping our taxes 30% last summer, you're kind of even. You're kind of, now you're asking to bring it because you need more. I mean, it's not that it's the same anymore, because if our property taxes weren't raised 30% last year, where would you be? You'd be asking for more money no matter what, whether that levy was passed or not, because that's another $600,000-$700,000 that you guys got last summer.
No, we wouldn't have been asking more. We forecasted, and Beth forecasted most of that into our 5-year forecast. The bottom line is we were not asking for a new levy. You were not lied to. And the other thing is your taxes went down. 3.49 is lower than 3.65, and 2.6 is lower than that, and 2.5 is what it's now collecting at. So not only did I make you that promise, we delivered on that promise, and your taxes went down before we ever even moved into this building. It's the lower of the three. It's not a great option. I don't disagree with anyone here. It's not a great option, but it's. Yeah, no, it's fine.
Yeah, wait a minute.
We need to
One
talk on the
person at a
microphone.
time. I'm
What's that,
sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get, yep.
I mean, I guess I don't understand how you can forecast something that went up in a short period of time. How did you project that the homes are going to go up 30%? You can't forecast that, because that's something that happened during COVID and then happened in a very short period of time. I build homes for a living, so I know exactly how that works. So it's like, I don't know how you can forecast 30% of taxes when you didn't know what values.
I'm looking at home sales, and I did not predict the 30%, but I predict 20%. I was off 9%.
Yeah.
And that is forecast. And just like the county auditor looks at house sales, I look at house sales every day. I mean, that's for me to present an accurate forecast that's reasonable. And, so I get very upset when I hear windfall. Windfall is unexpected. This was not unexpected. We only see increases to our taxation every 3 years, during the reappraisal and during the update. And because, I just wanted to clarify, if your value went up 30%, your taxes did not go up 30%.
I understand how that worked, but still,
Yes.
you guys did get more than you guys anticipated and get.
Now, I will, the one thing we really struggle with is special ed costs. And it's really hard to predict. And I was off on that this year. Last year we had 60 kids, our highest need kids, 60 children. And I don't want to pick on the special ed kids at all, but we're mandated to provide certain services. 60 kids, $2.7 million. That's a lot of money for 60 kids. The other thing I want to point out, and I'm going to be, this recently happened, and I don't think the average taxpayer understands this, that this is how this works. If we have a child that's at, institutionalized, say the county home, and they get in trouble, and the judge says, you're going to this residential program. It's in Pennsylvania, or it's in Michigan. Who do you think pays for that?
Well, I understand now that the school does from what you guys
The
are talking
school
about,
does,
which is kind of,
yeah.
I understand
And
that
so,
good stuff.
so we pay about, on average, a child, across the whole school, about $91 a day. So suddenly I'm paying between $250 and $400 for this kid. That's a blow to your budget.
So I guess the question as part is that, because I mean, I know part of this whole thing of you guys leaving Geauga County School Board to go to Cuyahoga County School Board, how much money did you, because it was supposed to help with this.
It did, it saved us money, sure.
Saved you guys money.
It did.
And then I guess as far as this opening that up, I mean, are you guys planning on closing open enrollment? Or reducing the amount of open enrollment? Because I
We
mean,
have reduced the amount of open enrollment.
What's that?
We have reduced the amount of open enrollment.
Are you guys going to close it? I mean, because if we're getting more and attracting, I mean, I'm not trying to alienate anybody, but I mean, for us to keep on paying.
The dance that we're doing right now is if we drop below a certain threshold of students, then we'll get penalized more by the state. So we have to kind of calculate and accept just enough open enrollment to stay in the threshold that we need to be in. And that's kind of what we do every year. That's why, I mean, we took about half the amount of kids that applied for open enrollment this year.
And I guess the last thing I would say is, I mean, because it doesn't seem like you guys are heavily, I mean, there was talked about the, how many facility people you guys, or principals, whatever. And I guess the only thing that I would say about it is that half your high school students go to Auburn. So you have 300 kids there, but you're only with 150 per day because half of them are over at Auburn. So I mean, maybe restructuring some of that and maybe allocating something to try to save some money. Because
They go to Auburn half the day.
correct. So they're only there half the time. Here at Berkshire, half the time, because most of them are in Auburn. So that's all I gotta say. Thank you.
Hello. Hello. Eric O'Neill, Burton Township. So someone just brought up that the inside millage transfer would be the cheapest option, but I feel that we didn't really get to explore the option of the income tax. You guys put it up there for a second and said, no, it's not a good option. But to me, I mean, I don't know, but that seems like that would be actually the cheapest option. It seems like possibly tonight we wanted to show that the inside millage transfer would be the cheapest option so that you guys could say, hey, this is the cheapest option right now. Let's go ahead and do this. But to me, it seems like the lowest impact financially for families would be the income tax. We have people that are on fixed incomes.
Sure, the income tax would be about $250 per $50,000 worth of income.
$250,000 or $50?
$250 per
Oh, okay, so the Maple Leaf
$50,000
said
of income.
$25. So the Maple Leaf misprinted that. I have it on my phone here.
Mrs.
So that's a
McCaffrey?
misprint.
It's 1% of your salary.
Okay, so it says a 5% earned income tax would cost $25 per 50,000
Oh.
of earned income. So is that false?
I've got to turn that over to my financial expert, but
I just wanted to make sure we're exploring, like if that's, I read it in Maple Leaf and I was like, okay, well, that seems like the obvious choice. We definitely shouldn't be forcing this,
yeah,
if that's the
think
choice, but if that's not the
I
correct
don't think
number.
$25 is the right number. Yeah, 250 is the correct number.
Okay, 250 is the correct number. Okay. I just wanted to come up and say that because we do have a lot of people that are on fixed incomes.
Sure.
That this is going to impact that aren't going to be able to afford it. I think that if we were to do this inside millage transfer, you guys are not going to pass another levy. And I think that's something that you guys really need to consider.
Thank you.
Thank you.
evening, Tim McCaskey, Burton Township. I have drilled John and Beth up and down for about 2 weeks now. Jody, I've been at your ear for 2 weeks straight. I had a million questions. You've answered every one of them. Thank you. I will tell the public, I know most of this board is struggling with this decision. This is not something you guys are coming by easy. Everyone's aware of that. I'm surprised to have to say it, but you're struggling with it as much as everybody sitting here is. You're all aware you're going to pay the same number we are. I just have some questions on the voting. Do you guys know what the percentage of people that voted this last election, what the breakdown was of actual voters versus actual voted? Do you know that number? No?
I'll try to look it up.
I'll move on. If you find it, let me know. John, what's the biggest cuts? What's the biggest thing on the chopping block that everyone has to understand? If you go today and move millage, we can truck forward today. If we wait for a levy to fall, we're a year and a half out from financing, I believe. If we're a year and a half out, what falls? what are we losing? You know, as a Burton Township resident, I'm looking at a new school saying, hey, I want my school to be better than, I'll say, Solon. Great school, big city, a lot of money. They're the number 3 in the state, I believe. How do we beat them? How do we meet them? How do we get better? We are not going to do it by cutting taxes. We're not. You cannot defund yourself out of education. It's not going to work. Is there a math for you of what are we cutting? Have you gone that?
Well, I think the first thing you look at is what's furthest from the classroom. I mean, and so you look at school resource officers, district administrators, and then programs. I mean, most schools that start cutting art programs. It's not something we want to do. I mean, I think we have great art programs that give kids great outlets here, and we don't want to do that. So clubs, activities, things like that start to get cut, and you start to only see, you know, certain things. We've developed a lot of workforce development programs. You know, I don't want to see those go anywhere because those are putting kids in really well-paying jobs without any debt. And we've got kids increasing the amount of college credit they're getting before they leave here without incurring debt.
What's that costing us? Do you know? Sending them to
If
Santiago?
if they go to Kent State, well, most college credit plus works in there are 3 different ways it works. So if you teach the course at your high school, then they charge you $40 per credit hour. If the student, if the Kent State instructor teaches the course at your school, they charge you, I think it's $60 a credit hour. And then if your kids take the course at the campus, Lakeland, Lake Erie, Kent State main campus, then it's $120 a credit hour. Geauga has considered themselves a part of our campus. So essentially, if our kids take a course at Kent Geauga, it's like their teacher teaching it on our campus. If our teacher teaches it, we pay. So we either pay 40 or 60 for any CCP, I think it's halfway in between. So it might be 90, but we pay the middle price for all Kent State unless they take it here because they're considered part of our campus.
One of the big elephants in my room when I talked to you, John, was the grant and the money, was to understand that the addition of the state building up in Burton, across from Preston, is not costing us money. That was a maze to me. That blew me away. Can you give me some detail to understand that the people in the room? I was very anal about this. I was up your butt about it for days, and for you to come back and say, "Hey, Tim, this literally did not cost us money," was amazing to me.
Yeah, actually, Jackie's been waiting patiently here because we were gonna recognize her at the board meeting at 7. But the Preston family donated $750,000 for us to purchase that site. So we paid nothing to purchase that, and it belongs to the school district. Their family is also paying us monthly rent to operate in the site, and our kids in the diesel program are then going to work side by side with their mechanics to see live repairs, live updates. They're going to run a body shop that's in the body shop there. They're already building offices over there and making renovations. So our kids are going to, again, the Prestons are going to pay for the Ford ACE supplemental program for our kids to get their automotive certifications. It's going to give our kids an avenue maybe to go directly into Preston for a decent paying job. And then if not, to Junction Auto or Great Lakes Cheese wants to have our kids that are trained as techs, as maintenance techs for their company. And then we have Countryside Trucking and Coonley Brothers Trucking. We've had a lot of placements out of kids in our diesel program, which has really not cost us much at all.
Did you say we got a grant for it also on top of all of this?
Yeah, Sandra O'Brien and Steve Demetrio sponsored a grant from the state that provided us $915,000 to make renovations to that ODOT facility, which is now called the Berkshire Workforce Development Campus.
My last question is about the cost per student. Do you know what our cost per student is if you break it down across the whole board of the whole school? Do you know what it is?
It's a little bit more than $15,000 per student.
How's that stack up against the state?
State average is a little bit more than $16,000 per student.
If you, assuming we don't do the PI movement or move the transfer, that number would somewhat drop to some mathematical equation of $400 per student, I'm going to assume.
Are you asking how much we would have to cut to?
Yeah, have you broke it down that way to see what the granular number comes down to?
Yeah, I don't know if we've factored that
So
in.
certain numbers wouldn't get attributed to the cost per student, like buses, so we would move buses to the PI, and right now, part of that is getting charged to the cost per student.
Do you know what the state average is for township school, not city? You know what their cost is per student? I found anywhere from 13 up to 17.5. We're in the middle. We're also not the top end of the school district in the education of our report card. I'd love to see us say, hey, here's the finances of we need more money, I get it, but here's what we're going to do with that money. I venture to say I support it. I've supported it before, but that doesn't matter today. I don't know how to break that number down, John, to say, hey, guys, this is the math. This is where it is. This is where we're cutting it. Understand your kids are paying for sports. I don't know if that's the math. It's a logical number in my head. I don't wish your vote on anyone. It's the hardest thing you're going to do today. Today, maybe later, but good luck. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Isaac Hutchinson. I'm from Burton. I am one of your guys' graduates of 2023. I'm currently 19 years old. I'm the fourth generation of my family to go to Berkshire. I work full-time and own my own small business. As everybody knows, it's rough out there. Everything costs a lot, especially for the newer generation coming in. I don't know how any of us are ever going to own a home. I mean, they're just ridiculous. But for the biggest thing, I'm one of your guys' trap team and skeet team, and I love it. I love supporting this school. I graduated from it. But one of the biggest things you guys taught me was my right to vote was the biggest freedom that American had to give me. And for you guys to want to take that away or not really care that I had it, this was my first time voting. I never received much information about the levy. For you guys to go ahead and just say we're going to do it anyway feels like it's a disrespect to my right to vote, and I feel like you guys taught me better and educated our whole school district that one of the greatest freedoms we have as Americans is our right to vote, and I feel like that should be upheld and should be withstood throughout our country, no matter where you're at. I want to stay in Berkshire School District, but it just costs so much. It's not just the tax. Everything costs a lot, but it doesn't make it any easier for your guys' graduates to transition into real life from the school with more taxes, higher bills the way it is. But I just think that, going through Berkshire, one of the biggest things that I was taught is my biggest freedom is my right to vote. And that's how America came to be. It was taxation without representation. It's how it all started. So that's just my peace of mind.
We've run past our time, but is there anybody else that would like to make a comment? Okay. I I need a motion to adjourn and a second.
So move.
Brian? I'll second. Roll call, Beth.
Mr. Berman?
Yes.
Mr. Manfredi?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mrs. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth?
Yes.
What do we got, 7:32? Okay.
Oh, sorry.